Hi.
Hello.
Is my city logo thingy correct? Okay, great.
Madam City Clerk, are we okay to begin?
Yes, Mayor, we are.
All right, very good. So in compliance with California Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order to protect public health and prevent the spread of COVID-19, this city council meeting is being conducted via teleconference on the city's website and is also provided on a wide array of streaming media platforms to offer access to the public to the fullest extent possible. WehoTV staff have confirmed that this city council meeting is currently streaming successfully on Spectrum Channel 10 and online at weho.org/WehoTV. In addition, and as a courtesy, this meeting is also successfully streaming on the city's YouTube channel at youtube.com/WehoTV and on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV. WehoTV staff monitor this broadcast on all platforms throughout the meeting and will notify the city clerk and council should broadcast disruptions arise. Please do not interrupt the live meeting by calling or texting the city council about difficulties viewing the meeting. If you are experiencing viewing difficulties while watching this live stream, please reload the page or visit weho.org/WehoTV to access our official live stream and to view a list of other available streaming options. In addition, you may call in to listen to this meeting by dialing 669-900-6833 with a meeting ID 925-3768-8158 and then press the pound sign. Please understand that internet speeds, device reliability, and third-party platform reliability, as well as individual or personal technical issues, are out of the scope of this broadcast. WehoTV staff has published a guide at weho.org/WehoTV to troubleshoot your connection. If you're having difficulties connecting to the meeting, you can also call 323-848-3151. I'll call this meeting to order and have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, Madam City Clerk, a roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember D'Amico.
Here.
Councilmember Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Shine.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Here.
Mayor Horvath.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I'll now turn it to our city attorney to provide a report of the closed session that happened not earlier today, but last week.
Thank you very much, Mayor Horvath. As the mayor mentioned, the City Council met for a special closed session meeting on April 22nd. The meeting convened at about 4:45 p.m. There were no members of the public who came to speak for public comment. The City Council talked about the one item listed on the posted agenda, which was the city manager position, and adjourned around 9 p.m. and took no reportable action. And we did not have a closed session this evening. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now for our approval of the agenda, Madam City Clerk, do we have any changes proposed by staff this evening?
No, Mayor, there are no changes from staff.
Okay, and from my colleagues? Mayor Pro Tem Meister?
Yeah, I wonder if we could possibly move to consent items 4B as in boy, which is approval of the 2022 art grant program, and item 5A, which is the amendment number 5 regarding the Cabara Engineering.
Any objections?
Was hoping that some of the savings from item 4A could be moved to item 4B. So it seems like if we're going to talk about 4A, I'd like to talk about 4B at the same time.
Okay, so we'll leave 4B on the regular agenda. Does anyone object to moving 5A? Councilmember Erickson, you object?
No, sorry.
Okay, so we'll move item 5A to consent. Do you have other items you're trying to move?
I'm going to try. I would like to see if we could move 4E to consent.
Item 4.
It's the face coverings one, and maybe we could give, if we have further direction items and comments, but if not, that's okay.
Does anyone object to moving 4E to consent? Okay,
We might want to just have the city manager say a few words about it,
sure,
a brief summary.
sure.
And I'm going to try one more, if I may, Madam Mayor. And that would be 4C. And that's the pilot programs for increasing affordability.
Does anyone have objections to moving that to consent?
I'm sorry, 4C?
Yes, the update on the exploration of pilot programs for increasing affordability.
I had comments. I don't know.
Do that during your council member comments, or?
I could do that.
Okay, then let's try that.
And Mayor, I have a question about item 2G, which is about the Harland. And so I'll ask the city manager during, maybe I'll text him, but I'll ask him during my comments and he can find out. And the question is, there was supposed to be a sales agreement between Faring and the West Hollywood Community Housing Corp. finalized by April 26th. And I just want to know if that happened. And if it hasn't happened, then I'd like to talk about the item. If not, then we can leave it on consent.
So let's leave it for now. If anything comes up that causes us to pull it, we will do exactly that.
Okay.
With those changes, any other changes? If not, I would entertain a motion on our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve our amended agenda, which moves items 5A and 4E and 4C to consent. 4C, once again, is an update on exploration of pilot programs for increasing affordability in the West Hollywood housing market. Item 4E is the update to the COVID-19 face covering requirements. And item 5A is the amendment number 5 to the agreement for services with Cabara Engineering. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember D'Amico,
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shrine,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister,
Yes.
Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you very much. And now we will move to adjournment motions. Do any of my colleagues have adjournment motions this evening? Councilmember Erickson.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I would like to adjourn this meeting in memory of Norman G. Redmond, Esquire. He was the father of West Hollywood resident Suzanne Diamond. He was a longtime civil rights champion, lawyer, and overall wonderful man. I really appreciated hearing Suzanne's stories about her father, who she looked up to. He passed away, unfortunately, last week, but it is also Suzanne's birthday today. So bringing her a little bit of joy doing this as she remembers her father. So thank you very much.
Any others? I have just a couple this evening. First, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Melette Lemmy, who leaves behind her beautiful sons. She's a close friend and former partner of my creative director, who works with my creative team. So she just passed away this past weekend. I'd also like to adjourn in memory of Saul de la Rosa, who's the brother of Councilmember Yesenia de la Rosa of Avalon, a Contract Cities executive board member. Saul was 24 years old, tragically died in a car crash on his way to work. His family celebrated that he was able to get off the island and onto the mainland for work. And They are grieving his loss, and so we extend our condolences to the entire family. And finally, I'd like to adjourn in memory of the Honorable Pat Russell, who was a community activist and became the first woman elected official to serve as the Los Angeles City Council president. Russell represented the 6th District for 18 years until 1987, which included the areas from Westchester and Playa del Rey to Crenshaw. Russell numbered among her achievements the sponsorship of city noise regulations for LAX, which became the standard for federal law, support of zoning reforms that made it easier to establish more child care centers, and advocacy of the Metro Rail Subway project. In 1984, she was author of a measure requiring developers in much of her district to help pay for transportation improvements before their projects could be built. It was billed as the city's boldest effort to make private enterprise pay for public improvements and became a model for other areas. Russell is also credited with changing the LAPD's policy for investigating officer-involved shootings, transferring the responsibility from the department to the district attorney. And now we'll move on to presentations. Councilmember Erickson has our first presentation this evening.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I believe we have her on the line. Erin, I believe, is on the line. I'm really proud to present this proclamation that although May is also Senior Month, it is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And we have a wonderful item on the agenda tonight on consent talking about the importance of mental health. But we have an amazing here local group. And so I'm really proud to present this proclamation to NAMI Westside Los Angeles. So whereas NAMI Westside Los Angeles offers free education programs along with support, guidance, and hope for the growing numbers of Angelenos affected by mental health conditions. And whereas NAMI Westside Los Angeles chapter, one of a number of affiliates of both NAMI California and NAMI national organizations in LA County, offers peer support groups for those living with mental health conditions and family support groups for family members of loved ones who are impacted by mental illness. And whereas throughout the month of May, NAMI Westside Los Angeles is presenting a celebration of Mental Health Awareness Month, including a wellness weekend, which was just this past weekend, and a month-long series of engaging, educational, and empowering events that shine a hopeful light on many free resources available to everyone impacted by mental health awareness. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the members of the City Council of the City of West Hollywood do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of West Hollywood, express our support and appreciation for the work of NAMI Westside Los Angeles is doing for those impacted by mental illness, and urges members of the community to participate in their events. And I'll turn it over to Erin and Sharon. Woo, 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 woo.
That was our very enthusiastic program director. Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Councilmember Erickson and all the council for this wonderful proclamation and honor. We are very grateful to receive this proclamation and be a part of our collective community and providing resources to our community together. John, I wanted to say a special thank you to you for joining our wellness weekend over this past Sunday. He was on our advocacy panel, and we will have a recording of that and we'll share with your community. So if they missed it, they can check it out. But as you know, John, or Councilmember Erickson, is very enthusiastic and passionate about serving the community. And I thought a lot about what you said, John, in that particular advocacy panel about your table, about you being the table and then the 4 legs. And those 4 legs are your individual pillars. And what are those pillars for you as an individual? And for me, one of those pillars is community. So to be recognized in this capacity by the City of West Hollywood is a great honor. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate you, Councilmember Erickson, and everyone here this evening for this award and this proclamation. I'd also like to introduce our co-president, LMFT Sharon Dunas, and all-around rock star of mental health here in Los Angeles County. Sharon, if you'd like to say a few words on behalf of our affiliate.
Yes, John, I so want to thank you for participating this weekend in our mental wellness weekend put on by NAMI Westside at Los Angeles. You were very informative and very helpful. And NAMI is honored to partner with you and receive this award. And Mary Lou Russell was a part of NAMI Westside Los Angeles. I knew her very well. I don't know if you all know, she had a mentally ill son. And she participated with NAMI Westside LA. She supported us. We offer free classes, educational classes on a graduate level. She was in our support groups. I used to talk to Mary Lou all the time, and she is a real loss. And I'm so glad she did so much for our community. And NAMI Westside LA is doing equally as much for our community. We are fighting stigma in all of the high schools and junior high and colleges. We run support groups. We have free classes for individuals with brain illness, for family members affected by brain illnesses when their relatives become ill. And so NAMI is happy to serve the community, and our reach is getting greater and greater, and we're helping more and more people. So this is a real honor to accept this from you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to see that a city council knows what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you all very much at NAMI for the work that you do and the ways that you serve our entire region. We certainly appreciate you. Our next presentation tonight is for Senior Month, and I believe our Senior Advisory Board Chair, John Allendorfer, will be here to speak on behalf of Senior Month. Is also known as National Older Americans Month and serves as a time to honor senior adults in communities throughout the country. West Hollywood proudly supports our senior community and honors them during National Older Americans Month with special programming for our own Senior Month. The city is very fortunate to have a vital and active Senior Advisory Board, which will televise their monthly Senior Advisory Board meeting on Wednesday, May 26th at 2 p.m. The city greatly appreciates the role of our Senior Advisory Board members as community leaders, volunteers, educators, and activists. Through the West Hollywood Aging in Place, Aging in Community initiative, the city will focus a month-long communication strategy on educating and informing the broader community about local services, resources, and programs that make West Hollywood an age-friendly city. The City Council hereby proclaims the month of May 2021 as the 35th annual Senior Month in West Hollywood. And we have this proclamation. Yeah, these virtual backgrounds make that tricky, but there is a proclamation here. We're happy to present it to you, and I turn it over to Chair of the Board, John Allendorfer.
Well, thank you, Mayor Horvath, Mayor Pro Tem Meister, and City Council members. As chairperson, I am honored to receive this proclamation on behalf of the Senior Advisory Board. I want to acknowledge all of our board members who are Esther Baum, Pat Dixon, Joy Newell, Nadia Sutton, Ailey Walkup, Bill McNeely, Vice Chair Michael Hollingsworth, and David Eichmann. You know, there are, according to the latest census for West Hollywood, 5,390 seniors or older adults, and that's a very significant portion of the city. And 3 areas of emphasis, and there are many, and you deal with them in a great way, but 3 of the big important ones are available and affordable housing, senior transportation, and the problems of isolation and loneliness. And we hope that the City Council keeps these as priorities. And you mentioned the meeting coming up on May 26th. Due to the pandemic, some activities have been canceled, like the health fair and others, but the meeting will be specially televised, Senior Advisory Board meeting, May 26th at 2 p.m. And what we're excited about is going to feature spokespeople from the Motion Picture and Television Fund and LA Metro. So they will be dealing with isolation, loneliness, and transportation. And also, we invite all seniors to, in order to combat loneliness and isolation, join us in our monthly Seniors in Action virtual meeting sessions. We have them on the last Tuesday of every month. Usually we meet in the library room, but because of the pandemic, we've had to go virtual. And it's been a real success. It's one of the few ways seniors are communicating with each other in this city. It's where connections, conversations are made, and friendships are made. So we hope with age comes wisdom. And we hope the Senior Advisory Board is doing that. You know, some of the Senior Advisory Board members have been here before it became a city. So it just goes to show you're never too old to give input to the city. So we encourage all senior or older adults, as some like to be called, remain active, show up, and express yourself. And thank you again for honoring the seniors and the work we do and can do. And we always look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you.
And our final presentation tonight happened as a result. This national organization reached out, letting us know of their work. And we wanted to acknowledge Global Love Day. And today we have with us John Goltz, who's the VP of the Love Foundation. The Love Foundation is a nonprofit organization with the mission of inspiring people to love unconditionally. Their vision is to assist people by building a practical foundation and understanding of unconditional love within individuals and society as a whole. The Love Foundation has declared May 1st as Global Love Day to facilitate in establishing love and peace on our planet. Global Love Day will establish a worldwide focus towards unconditionally loving each other as we love ourselves. The Love Foundation recognizes that all life is interconnected and interdependent, and love begins with self-acceptance and forgiveness. The City Council hereby proclaims May 1st as Global Love Day and invites all citizens to observe this day, which honors the public cause for global love, world peace, and universal joy. I thought after the year and change that we have had, celebrating unconditional love in our community was certainly welcome. And so I want to welcome tonight John Goltz.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor and Council. I really appreciate it. We've had 2 other proclamations from you, and Mayor Horvath, 2016, I believe you also signed one. It's an honor, truly. And in listening to the openings here of your council, I was impressed with your care and compassion for your community. Obviously, mental health and working with the elderly are 2 things that are concerned throughout the country and really the world. And the Love Foundation and Global Love Day is actually part of that. It's part of all of those types of things, because all of those things come back to the self. They come back to self-love, self-awareness, and then that extension towards, in fact, my husband and I are caretaking his parents. And so the mental health and the dealing with the elderly are 2 very personal issues to me. But I'll keep it short, but thank you so much. We really appreciate you participating again this year, and it's an honor. So.
Thank you so much. Always nice to have a little more love in our lives.
That's right.
And now I will turn it to our city clerk to administer public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first speaker is Adam Darvish. Adam, please press *6 and you will have 2 minutes to speak under public comment. I'm gonna help. Adam, go ahead.
Okay, so,
there you go.
Sorry,
Yeah, we can hear you. No worries.
Good evening, Mayor Horvath and Mayor Pro Tem Meister and council members. I just wanted to make a comment on an item that Mayor Pro Tem Meister is moving forward regarding the abandoned buildings. I think it's Palmer Park. I'm so sorry. I didn't know my name was going to be called, so I don't have the item number in front of me. I think it's 2.0, if I'm correct, but wanted to support this item and thank Mayor Pro Tem Meister for this initiative. I'm hoping that this would then, as a pilot, would go to other locations, to abandoned buildings. One on Larrabee that the residents are really concerned about, that I've reported to Danny Rivas and also Kristen Cook, and they're on it. But we know there's several of those buildings that need attention, and hoping that the property owners also take responsibility in keeping those buildings up, and hopefully spread this initiative to other vacant properties. So thank you so much. for this to on the agenda.
Thank you, Adam. Our next speaker is West Siegmiller. West, if you could please press *6, you will have 2 minutes to speak on public comment.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. My name is Wes Siegmiller. I'm just representing myself tonight as a West Hollywood resident. So first, a belated thank you to each and every one of you for last month deprioritizing the criminal citations of adult consensual sex work within the city. That really means a lot to me personally. But today I'm calling about item 4E about updating the mask requirements. I really believe it's imperative that the civil fine for mask non-compliance is suspended or rescinded tonight for the following reasons. First, in alignment with the state and CDC guidelines, vaccinated persons are not required to wear a mask while outside in most situations. So enforcement of the mask requirement policy as it stands now only for unvaccinated persons is impractical, and it probably violates constitutional protections of reasonable expectation of privacy for people to be asked whether they're vaccinated or not. So secondly, deploying armed uniformed officers to enforce mask compliance, it's just not effective health policy. Cops are not public health workers, and that runs in anathema to the push for alternatives to police for situations that it's not appropriate. And lastly, I've personally witnessed many accounts of West Hollywood Sheriff's biased enforcement that targets homeless people for mask noncompliance. Many of the people that I do outreach to on a daily basis have told me that they feel racially profiled and targeted for being homeless for mask noncompliance by the WeHo Sheriff's Department. I've even captured some of this on film. So it's time for you all to own up to the unintended consequences of the current WeHo mask enforcement policy. If you really care about racial and economic justice, no matter your politics around health mandates, you need to consider the legal and ethical liabilities that police-led mask enforcement will expose the city to. And to those who before voted to advance these and remove warnings should acknowledge those unintended harms of that decision, and anything less would be a failure of leadership. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, West. Our next speaker is Jordan David. Jordan, please press *6, and you will have 2 minutes to speak on public comment.
Hi, this is Jordan David, calling from occupied Tongva land, and I vote in West Hollywood elections. I attended the recent budget subcommittee and was left deeply concerned, not only about the staff's recommendations, but the language they used to present them. The best way to make a community safe is preventing crime from happening. The evidence is clear that increased crime is directly linked to poverty. Solving poverty means providing access to basic needs like housing, food, healthcare, and education. Access to resources is public safety. But when it comes to the public safety line in the budget, staff have only included police, who we know do not prevent crime, but instead create more violent and lethal outcomes. In the proposal you'll receive, 20% of the general fund would go to the Sheriff's Department, while only 5% would go to the social service contracts. These numbers should be switched. Almost all of the sheriff's time outside of special events and filming is spent agitating the community and bullying unhoused people. They actually make our community less safe. Paul called this a status quo budget, and he's right. What he failed to mention is that the status quo is state-sanctioned violence against the BIPOC community, against poor people, against unhoused people, and against the entire working class. The status quo is unacceptable. When the time comes, please reject these draconian recommendations, invest in social services, and divest from racist, classist, outdated policing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Our next speaker is Ted Liso. Ted, please press *6, and you will have 2 minutes to speak under public comment.
Good evening, council members, old ones and new ones. I am proud to call and welcome you. I've been a city a person for a very long time. I've worked with the HIV community. I've owned businesses. I've owned houses. Just welcome you. And if I can, I'd like to call it a new facelift. It is well needed. I've been going to these meetings for a long time. You guys are hitting the spots and bringing community back. Lastly, I would just like to make a comment last week to why I believe it was on phasing out gas stations. Please, let's take that first step, you guys. The previous people did not take big steps to sustainability or to reduce carbon emission. Let us take those steps. This is a great first step. I know we have to wait for the research to be done, but Petaluma could do it, so could we. So that's all I have to say for tonight. I welcome all of you and have a great meeting.
Mayor, can I say one thing to Ted Liso? Today is the 26th anniversary of Tony Gramalia's death, Ted. And I love you and I loved him. And I just want to send you some love.
Thank you. And he's in my head all the time. Thank you so much. Wow, thank you. Have a great meeting, you guys.
Thank you, Ted. Our final speaker this evening is Lynn Russell. Lynn, please press *6 and you will have 2 minutes to speak under public comment.
Lynn Russell, West Hollywood. Good evening, Mayor Horvath and fellow council members. When I rarely speak in front of council, it concerns development projects, especially those that interact with current historic resources and potential resources which have not been thoroughly vetted to avoid actions that compromise neighborhoods which originally had an established sense of place. My concern is this. There is a public expectation to feel confident that work of city staff is accurate, follows accepted protocols, and fair business ethics. When breakdowns occur, through short-sightedness, failure of staff to insist upon credible reviews, delivery of timely and accurate information requested, there is no good outcome. In some instances, alteration of or acceptance of altered documents, removal of documents submitted for commission review can grow exponentially and foreclose a dedicated process. The public trust becomes undermined. 10 years ago, I obtained a unanimous appeal for failure to follow the code. The architect felt deceived by the urban designer in a manner contrary to his instincts and principles. A collaboration between us on a lovely redesign followed, which now resides where the original building and 16 Italian cypress trees were erased due to a faulty survey. Vowing to continue, 2 appeals were lost because council failed to recognize simple mistakes in staff protocol. They got lost in the consequences of carelessness and failed to even question protocol. Recently, unimaginable actions have surfaced involving city staff. Like the architect who vowed never to accept another project in West Hollywood, the process appears subverted and manipulated. Likewise, people feel deceived. Either accidental or those accidentally on purpose events which eventually erode an organization, a company, or a city not be papered over. I ask the council to insist based on accuracy, authenticity, integrity, and ethical standards. The public trust depends upon it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. Mayor, we actually have one more speaker, Michael King. Michael, please press *6 and you will have 2 minutes to speak under public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Good evening, Mayor Horvath, Mayor Meister, and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. As you know, I'm a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. However, I'm speaking this evening as a private citizen, and these are my personal thoughts. As you'll recall, I addressed council at previous meetings regarding item 2I, parking permits. Staff responded very favorably to my comments, and I look forward to the implementation of the program updates they mentioned. I'm very much in favor of items 2M, 2N, and 2O. Supporting the well-being of our citizens, particularly after a year of isolation, is critically important for all of us. And finally, I'd like to express my support of item 5B. The idea that women and men have to be kept separate harkens back to an era when women were property and couldn't even work without the permission of their husbands. This will also help to eliminate the need for differential numbers of toilets depending on whether one builds a women's or a men's bathroom. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
Thank you very much. We would like to begin council member comments. Councilmember D'Amico.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have some very short comments. The first is that, the last meeting we had was quite long and I left early, and I asked the city manager to work on a set of options for making our meetings last maybe no longer than 5 hours, from 6 to 11 per our many decades long standing agendas. And that includes perhaps we could institute an open meeting study session so the council members could ask staff questions about items on the agendas beforehand, maybe from the 4 to 5 o'clock hour or 5 to 6 o'clock hour. Also, maybe we could add an additional meeting every month or limit the time given to presentations, or as Paul once suggested a few years ago, having a separate presentations night in which we gather all the presentations together and have a big celebration of people coming to celebrate each other's good and hard work. So I appreciate that, some of you have unlimited energy, and I just need to have better boundaries around my time. I have a very complicated work life. And I think there's also a case to be made that making policy at 1 o'clock in the morning maybe doesn't allow for much public interaction with what we're doing either. But I really want to say that I apologize if anyone was offended that I left, but I really do have responsibilities beyond the four corners of this video screen that extend to it's really hundreds of millions of dollars of responsibilities in my day job. So I wanted to put that out there. And I also wanted to ask if we could have in that same staff report at the next meeting, a plan for moving these meetings back to the council chambers and how to continue our virtual presentations, our virtual participation in combination with in-person participation going forward. I'm thinking all of us have heard from many members of the community who have said, it's so much easier to just dial up the phone and watch you on TV and then speak when I need to speak instead of coming into our council chambers and doing the same. So if we could have a staff report about that at the next meeting, or perhaps the one after, if we don't have enough time between now and the second meeting of May, I would certainly appreciate it. And those are my comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Who would like to go next? Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Thank you, Mayor. On the consent calendar, the community garden program, I wanted to thank Councilmember Erickson for co-sponsoring and thank my colleagues for supporting. In 2018, we supported a revival of the community garden program. And unfortunately, as everyone knows, there's not much open space in West Hollywood, which is why Councilmember Erickson and I wanted staff to utilize the Detroit property in the short term and look at Plummer Park in the long term for some type of community garden program moving forward. Item 2.0, the panel discussion on well-being during the time of COVID. I want to thank Councilmember Shine for asking me to co-sponsor. This has been an incredibly stressful time for our residents, our businesses, and even our city employees. And I appreciate my colleagues' support of a much needed panel on the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of our community members. Item 4C on the update on exploration of pilot programs for increasing affordability. Regarding ADUs, totally agree staff should be providing stellar examples, a list of architects and contractors. We also need to do outreach. The staff report mentioned that it was fairly limited to just West Hollywood West and I believe Norma Triangle. There are a number of other areas that have single family homes, but there are also ADUs are allowed in all of our zones. So I just want to make sure that we don't limit ourselves, because this is a way to create units, whether they are affordable or moderately priced units. And as you know, we have our RENA numbers to fulfill, and it's a great way of doing that. I wanted to also mention that the first-time home buyer with shared appreciation sounds like a very doable pilot, especially if a small condominium, a one bedroom or a studio is around 600,000 to 700,000. That's how much it appears to cost to build an affordable unit. So it seems to make sense if a unit is already built and we can get someone in and get them into a first time home buying situation, that would be a great way of spending some affordable housing trust fund money. Small sites acquisition and rehabilitation, having an acquisition fund for at-risk buildings. I don't want to give up on that idea. And that is why Councilmember Shine and I asked that staff reach out to the San Francisco nonprofits who might be more interested in this business model than our own nonprofits in Los Angeles. If they're doing it in San Francisco, then let's see if we can benefit from their experience. On CLTs, I just wanted to confirm that we can use affordable housing trust fund money for CLT grants. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to, but I think that's also another great way for us. We had talked about the tenant opportunity to purchase a couple of years ago, and this form of community opportunity to purchase is just another form of TOPA. So I'm very supportive of that. I'm not quite as supportive yet of co-living projects, micro units, and congregate living until we can get some clear definitions of these types of housing, zoning codes for these types of housing, and design standards before we keep putting the cart before the horse. And then we get different answers from staff. Well, it's a hybrid. Well, it's housing. Well, it's not housing. Well, it's residential. It's commercial. Let's get that on the books before we continue pushing that type of housing. In terms of meeting attendance, since our last meeting, I attended the council's homelessness subcommittee meeting and the finance and budget subcommittee meeting. I'm hoping that in the future, any subcommittee comments and questions will be included in staff's report when the item comes to the full council, just as design review or long-range planning subcommittee's comments go to planning commission. When they hear an item, the council subcommittee comments, if we're being presented with something before the full council, our comments and questions should be included as well. The same for, a pride subcommittee, really any of our council subcommittees. There shouldn't be a problem with it, considering that all of these meetings are, or most of these meetings at least, are public meetings now. I also wanted to let my colleagues know that a letter has been sent to the principal real estate officer at Metro regarding the temporary use of MTA Division 7 surface parking lot on Santa Monica Boulevard. We're hoping for a quick and positive response, although I don't know that we can really expect one. So stay tuned on that, and the subcommittee will be discussing next steps at our next meeting. And then I wanted to thank everyone who participated in the Urban Forestry and Biodiversity Symposium. I thought our staff did a stellar job of putting together a very bright, interesting, and engaged panel. And they made it obvious we have our work cut out for us on this front, although we have a lot of programs and probably are ahead of the game compared to many other cities. As the mayor mentioned, May is Seniors Month. It's also Russian Arts and Culture Month, and people who are interested in seeing what events are happening, most events, I believe, are virtual, and they can go to the city's website to see what activities are planned. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Schlein.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I wanted to discuss the item 4E, which has been put on consent, which is the mask ordinance item. It's my understanding that aligning our ordinance with the county means we're not going to be enforcing any citations. I just want to get a clarification about that from the city manager, because if that's not the case, I do feel that it's too confusing. No one is required to carry their vaccination records, and it really would be a opportunity for discrimination to happen. So if if that's not part of it, then we need to pull it from consent and make a vote. The second item is regarding the 4C update on affordability programs. My biggest concern with the ADUs, and I'm very much in support of it, as well as the community land trust model, but I was very specific in giving direction to staff regarding to have clear and strong protection for those low-income tenants that are going to be participating in these programs. I was concerned about what happens to a tenant that's living there if the property owner within the 10-year period decides to sell their home. So we need to be very specific and take that into account. The other thing I want to discuss is I've had a lot of residents reaching out regarding overflowing trash bins around the city. And so if we had decreased the emptying of trash bins because people weren't going out as much, now that people are coming out, I think it's becoming a potential issue and should be addressed. And happy Senior Month, and as well as the Russian Cultural Arts Month, and now Mental Awareness Month is that what it was? So what a lovely month. I'd like to also ask the city manager if there's any discussions at all about National Night Out. I was asked by a constituent what the plans may be or me, so it would be good to get an update about that. Since our last meeting, I attended the homelessness subcommittee with Mayor Pro Tem Meister, and Mayor Pro Tem, you did a wonderful recap of everything from our meeting. I also attended the ribbon cutting for Out on Robertson this weekend with all of our colleagues. It was lovely being in person and in community with all of you. I wanted to discuss the article that came out. I think it's been over a month now, maybe almost two, the inaccurate article by some kind of security company saying that West Hollywood is one of the most dangerous cities in California. A lot of our residents, unfortunately, are still under that impression and in an inaccurate place of fear. And I would really like to have our communications department perhaps address the true statistics and public safety data in some kind of outreach and on social media, just to set the record straight. I know we had a public safety report, but I don't think a lot of the residents were aware of that. The other thing I want to discuss is I've been hearing experiences from tenants, especially those in older buildings where a landlord may send a letter saying they're planning to Ellis, even though it's against our moratorium right now, and that they're going to do substantial work as a form of harassment to get tenants to leave. I just want to let residents know, if this is the case, before vacating, please call the city. Please call us to discuss your rights in our ordinance if you have concerns before vacating or leaving. We have an incredible rent stabilization department that is there for you, and we have a strong tenants' rights in our city. I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Meister for co-sponsoring the Wellbeing in the Time of COVID panel. We have now coming out of COVID slowly, there's a lot of anxieties that have arisen, and quite frankly, there was quite a few suicides in the community. And so I reached out to Mayor Pro Tem about the need to do this. So I appreciate you and I working together on this. And I want to thank Councilmember John Erickson for co-sponsorship of the Disarm Hate panel, which is going to be in June at the anniversary of the tragic shooting in Orlando. It's going to be both panels are going to be wonderful, and that's it for me.
Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you so much. I just have a few comments. I also agree with what Councilmember D'Amico was saying. I think it is really important that we get back into the chambers. How we do it, I know, Paul, you're working on that, but it's time to get back in there. I believe all 4 of my colleagues, all of us are vaccinated, so we'll socially distant, as Mayor Pro Tem Meister remind us all on Saturday night. But I think it's time we move back in, and how we obviously get access to the public will be important. I know other cities have been putting out blueprints for how they're reopening City Hall. I know you were working on that, Paul, but that will be critical as more and more people are going back to work. And we should make sure that City Hall is open to them, but obviously safely and responsibly. So all of our city staff, as well as all of our residents, can be protected and safe as they try to get back to this quote unquote new normal. Additionally, I want to say how much fun it was on Saturday to be with you all. It was so wonderful just seeing the vibrancy, the life. I was out on Friday night out to dinner, and the lines, the people, it felt like old times in air quotes, but whatever that looks like now with people being very distant. But I just felt the love and the community, and it was so great being with all of my colleagues and having so much fun. And I think that's the best way to describe it. It was a lot of fun to be with you all, and it was great to cut a rainbow ribbon. So thank you to my colleagues, and thank you to the residents, the surrounding neighborhoods, and to everyone that, is letting this pilot program, really see what it can bring and how it can go. So I really want to offer all my sincere thanks. Additionally, I want to thank the communications department. They're starting to do daily or by every other day right now, depending on how fast they can put their graphics together for daily COVID updates specific to WeHo, which is really critical for so many of our residents. And I was really happy today to see that 63% of our population, based on 2019 data, is vaccinated. So that's great. That's right here in West Hollywood. And we just need to get Mayor Pro Tem Meister saying, go get vaccinated, and have that played over loudspeakers or wherever, because we need everyone to get vaccinated for all the reasons that Councilmember Shine said about mask ordinances, that a member of the public said as well, but ultimately how WeHo can lead the way. And it's great to see so many of our businesses starting to reopen and starting to really take part and be back in community. I can't wait to see you on the boulevard or the strip or wherever we'll run into each other. I also want to thank the organization Handle with Care, who held movie screening at the Ondas. I want to thank the Ondas on Sunset, who they showed Clueless and Mean Girls. I was able to attend with our very own Mayor Horvath, and we were reciting the film very because it's goes down in memory. That's a great film, but it was great to see so many members of our community come out to really support an organization aimed at helping homeless individuals and those experiencing it right here in West Hollywood. So thanks to Kellen, Tyler, and John, and all the crew there. And then the last comment I have is that meetings I'm going to be attending, and between this one is the 3rd District Consolidated Oversight Board that will be meeting next week. And then additionally, something for the city manager is that many of our residents on the east side have been reaching out because there's several developments on Detroit and Formosa that are having conflicting parking signs, as well as a DWP project that was approved to start going. I got a few calls this morning and this weekend from residents not knowing really the parking signs and street sweeping and all of the convoluted ways in which we have to find parking for our residents. So if you could provide an update or a way in which we can make sure that code is out there and making sure it's a little bit easier for our residents to know where to park during this time. And that is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For my comments tonight, I just want to share the meetings I had participated in as required for disclosure. Clean Power Alliance Executive Committee and Legislative and Regulatory Committee meetings, California Contract Cities Association board meeting as well. I attended the Sanitation District Personnel Committee meeting, and our Budget Subcommittee and California or Cal Cities board meeting as well. I also participated in the Ivy Bottini Remembrance event, and it was very well done. And thank you to all of the organizers who made it possible. It was a really beautiful event and tribute. Thank you to everyone who participated in the West Hollywood Elementary tree planting. Once again, another nice community event to bring people back out to beautify and create an even more sustainable environment and get our young leaders already invested in their own environment. Through my work on the Ending HIV Epidemic County Committee, we are able to bring additional funding and resources to increase HIV testing, as well as syringe programs in the city. Of course, the city already provides some of these services, but if you are an organization or location in West Hollywood that would like to explore the possibility of expanding these services, there are county funds available. Please reach out to City Hall. You can reach out to me or to our staff, and we'll be able to connect you with the county. I also participated in the Metro scoping meeting, the first one of a series, and truly encourage you to participate in these discussions to make sure that the alignment happens in the right way. We have one chance to get it right. And so everyone's comments and participation is being recorded as part of these events, and Metro staff is taking note. So with regard to item 4C, the only additional, many of my comments were already addressed. The only direction I would add is that any ADU production that's resulting in rental housing that was created with public funds, I want to make sure is made available to the public, and that these aren't private units that are made for people's individual family members, but that they are put on the rental market for the benefit of our residents and or community members. So with that, I will turn it to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. There were a number of questions that were asked, so I'm going to do my best to answer them. If I missed it, that means either I missed it or I don't have the answer. So thank you for the update on activity on the boulevard, especially in the commercial districts. I see Jackie's on the call. Everyone hears that we need to get more frequent pickups in terms of our trash cans. This is usually a historical problem that we've had, but we'll definitely focus on it. In regards to National Night Out, it's on our radar. The current orders still wouldn't allow us to do larger assemblies. So it's just something that we're going to have to continue to track and just pivot as soon as we can. One of the council members sent me a text on the letter that was sent to Metro from the homeless subcommittee. That was actually a letter sent from staff doing the inquiry. We'll forward that letter to all of the council, so everybody's in the loop. In regards to the construction sites on the east side and the signage, I got a text from staff. We're on it. We'll go out there to make sure that the information is as clear as possible. So we'll get on that first thing tomorrow. The Councilmember D'Amico asked about the status of the negotiations in terms of the PSA between Faring and the West Hollywood Housing Corporation. There's a little bit of technical back and forth that's going on, but there are communications and the lease should be wrapped up soon. However, it is not holding us up. We're still doing interviews and we're looking at having the property leased up and people in on June 1st. So that's something that's still in process. The mask ordinance, the short answer to Councilmember Shine's question is yes, we're going to curb the enforcement unless people are in large crowds where the CDC and the county order says you're supposed to be wearing a mask, or you're inside an enclosed facility. We're not going to be enforcing it. It's just too complicated, and many issues could arise that you mentioned, and also just the pressures on staff. Vaccination reminder, anyone 16 and older in the county is now eligible. Vaccines are more and more available, and actually the rate of vaccinations is slowing down. So we need people to pick it up again and get their shots. Tomorrow, we're doing a COVID vaccination program. We're going to be partnering with the County Department of Public Health Services to help vaccinate community members that are experiencing homelessness. So that's an effort that we'll be doing tomorrow. Long range planning has a number of meetings coming up. One is the Metro scoping meeting, and that's really the biggest one. They'll be hosting a 2-hour virtual scoping meeting Thursday, May 6th, and on May 8th. Community members cannot attend the meeting may email comments to crenshaw north@metro.net. More information is also available on the city website at weho.org/rail. The question about in-person meetings, or at least in person for key staff and the council members, we do have a repopulation plan for the city. Effective June 1st, we're going to start rotating back in all of the management team into the building. In July, we're going to start bringing back employees. We're going to continue a hybrid program. It's going to be a 2-phase approach. One is just getting people back into the building on a part-time basis. And then eventually, once the emergency orders are lifted, we're still going to continue with a hybrid model that allows for some employees to maintain a flexible telecommuting schedule. It's just been productive, and it's also good for the environment. We're targeting the July 19th as the first meeting back in the council chambers, and that'll be with the council members, the city clerk, and key staff. And that's where, as of now, in terms of our rollout and kind of going back to the new normal, that's the process that we have in place. And at this time, I think I've gone through all of my report. And did I miss any questions? Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, what is the fiscal impact of our consent agenda tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. The fiscal impact on tonight's consent calendar, with the addition of items 4C, 4E, and 5A, is $4,623,164 in expenditures, $964 in revenues, and $1,100 in waived fees.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember D'Amico.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shine.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yes.
Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And now we will recess and reconvene as the successor agency. I'll call the meeting to order and turn it to our clerk for a roll call.
Board Member D'Amico.
Here.
Board Member Erickson.
Here.
Board Member Shine.
Present.
Vice Chair Meister.
Here.
Chair Horvath.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And do we have a motion on tonight's agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second.
Board Member D'Amico.
Yes.
Board Member Erickson.
Yes.
Board Member Shine.
Yes.
Vice Chair Meister.
Yes.
Chair Horvath.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Do we have any public comments on our agenda?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, and do we have any commissioner comments on our agenda? Mayor Pro Tem or Commissioner Meister.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just ask staff if they could explain to the public in layperson's terms what we're doing on, I believe it's item 9. Is it 9A? It's a little bit confusing for me, for everyone. So it would be great if you would please give it to us in terms we can all understand. Thank you.
Yes, we will get there in just a second.
I think we need to approve the consent.
Our consent agenda. So
I'll move the consent calendar.
Thank,
Second.
item.
thank you. A motion and a second. That includes the approval of our minutes. Madam Clerk?
Yes. Board Member D'Amico.
Yes.
Board Member Erickson.
Yes.
Board Member Shine.
Yes.
Vice Chair Meister.
Yes.
Chair Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
We have no public hearings or unfinished business. Our new business tonight is a resolution of the successor agency to the West Hollywood Community Development Commission, approving the issuance of refunding bonds in order to refund certain outstanding bonds, approving the execution and delivery of a fourth supplement to indenture of trust and other documents relating thereto, requesting oversight board approval of the issuance of the refunding bonds, requesting certain determinations by the oversight board, and approving for other matters properly relating thereto. I will turn it to staff for a report.
Good evening. I was ready to say Mayor Pro Tem and council members, but I should address you as the successor agency members. I will be providing a brief report, and we do have our legal attorney here, Chris Lynch, and a couple other consultants, so they could take the technical stuff, and I'll try to give you the easy to understand brief report. So you have a number of attachments before you and items that we're requesting to approve. But basically it's the action for tonight's items is to refund the 2011 and the 2013 successor agency bonds. So what does this mean in basic terms? This is basically a refinancing similar to what we would do with our mortgage, where we refinance so that we could get some savings out of the refinancing deal. So why are we doing this? Well, first of all, it's a prudent thing to do as staff to ask the agency to try to do the refinance in order to save monies, because it will save taxpayers money, the successor agency, the oversight board, and the taxing entities. The good news about this is the city is a taxing entity. So at the end of the process, we are expected to also save, or I wouldn't say save, but monies will actually come back to us, about 6.6 million over the life of the remaining terms of the bonds, which is about 3 million in net present value, which could average about 300,000 to 500,000 additional monies that will come in basically as property taxes to the agency. So we are refinancing the 2011 and the 2013 bonds. I could go into details for each of them, but that's the just in an overview. And we could get into a little bit more of the technical items if you need to, or I don't know if that's sufficient as to why we're here, and basically it's to save some money.
I'm going to go ahead and move to approve item 9A, the resolution.
Second.
Is there any further discussion or clarification on the item? Mayor Pro Tem, I know you made a request, so did that meet your?
Yes, it did.
Okay, very good. So with no further discussion, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. Board Member D'Amico.
Yes.
Board Member Erickson.
Yes.
Board Member Shine.
Yes.
Vice Chair Meister.
Yes.
Chair Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Okay, and are there any other general comments, announcements, requests of staff, and or other issues of concern? If not, we will adjourn as the successor agency and reconvene as the City Council. We will now turn to our first of two public hearings tonight. Item 3A, proposed fee resolution for fiscal year 2021-2022. Madam City Clerk, how was this item noticed?
Thank you, Mary. It was noticed as required by law.
I'll open the public hearing and turn it to our staff for a report.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I am Annie Ruiz, Revenue Manager. Joining me is Lorena Quijano, Director of Finance and Technology Services, and Claudia Duncan, Senior Financial Management Analyst. This item provides the proposed fee resolution for fiscal year 2022. We can go directly into City Council questions, or I can provide an overview of the key recommendations in the staff report.
Does anyone need further clarification of the report? Councilmember D'Amico.
I don't need further clarification, but I did want to ask if we could defer the decision about the affordable housing in lieu fee. I didn't actually get a chance today to ask some questions about it, but we moved away from a percentage-based fee to a fixed fee that's clearly weighted, and I think looks to be more representative perhaps of some of the costs involved, but I have additional questions about how that fee is calculated and how that's scaled to the number of units. So if we could just defer that one block of fees, I promise to get those questions asked and answered by 2 weeks from tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I was just going to ask or confirm that now that fee is based on the number of units and not the size of the units. Because before it seems like it was based on number and size, but now number. I'm fine with deferring it, but if the questions, if Councilmember D'Amico can ask his questions tonight, I mean, for all of us.
Sure, I have them written down. I just didn't want to belabor. I didn't want to turn this into a question and answer session, but I'm happy to say. So my sense is that we're billing at a price per square foot. And if you make a sort of a 2-unit building, the cost might be, $1.2 million in construction, and that would mean you would pay $129,000 in fees. But on the other hand, if you have a $9 million project, you pay $645,000 in fees, almost a full percentage less. But you're having a larger building with more impact, and yet your fees are less. And so I just wanted to have someone walk me through how we got there. And then if I had a thought about how we got there that's different, then I wanted to bring that up to my colleagues. So
Excuse me, we do have the divisions and the departments here to answer those questions. Jonathan and Allison are available for questions in regards to that.
And I'm interested to know, but I'm not interested to come to a final thought about it live. Okay. I really want to have a conversation and write some things down and have some different scenarios and, so, but if my colleagues want to move forward, it's fine. But if we could just defer that one section, I promise to get in touch with them and we'll have it wrapped up in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So just jumping to clarify, I'm happy to provide an update, or I can hold the whole update for 2 weeks from now. Councilmember D'Amico, it sounds like you want to go through some things, so we can just hold the discussion and we won't have to go through twice, if that's fine.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, City Attorney Langer, how do we language this to make sure that we're tabling that? Can we just say move approval with the exception of, or do we have to say it in a certain way?
I am just pulling up the resolution. One moment.
I did have one quick question while City Attorney is doing that. If that's okay. My question was about the parking meter fee for outdoor dining. If you could just explain that to the public. The outdoor dining parking meter fee.
That is for the removal of the actual meter, and Vincent and Jackie are available to discuss that.
Yes, good evening. Oh, my screen is not working. One moment, please. Sorry, I just have my green screen. I did want to explain, Mayor Pro Tem Meister, that fee is, it's a licensing fee that would be charged to businesses that are interested in having outdoor dining that will expand the footprint of the outdoor dining, where we have to relocate the path of travel onto an on-street parking space, which results in the removal of those parking spaces and therefore the meters with the parking spaces. So what we want to do is, rather than charging an in lieu fee that just removes parking permanently, we would license the use of those spaces. So if a business either goes out of business or decides to remove the outdoor dining, they will, then the city would recapture those spaces. So it's a licensing fee just while that space is being used, similar to the way that the valet services work, where they basically kind of lease the spaces from the city for the duration of that use.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Lauren Langer?
Sure. I think you can go ahead and move approval of the resolution tonight, noting the exclusion, and Allison and John Hollop can correct me if I'm wrong, noting the exclusion of the affordable housing in lieu fee changes, and that can be scheduled for unfinished business, that one piece of it, for the next meeting. I think that would be the easiest way to handle it. So it's the resolution with the exclusion of the one change, and then the one change could be brought back at the next meeting. Does that work for you, Councilmember D'Amico?
You're on mute.
I said, it's actually called the Human Services and Rent Stabilization Department New Construction Fee Schedule Fiscal Year 21-22. That's the only section we need to exclude.
Oh, okay. And that is on which page?
That's on
Maybe that's a
page
better way to do it. I was going by the staff report, sorry.
29 of 75 of my version of the PDF.
29. I'm almost there.
So would you like to make that motion, Councilmember D'Amico?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you all.
And I assume that motion also includes closing the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. City Attorney, you're okay with our motion? Okay.
As long as we just articulate which fee's coming back next time, and everything else will be adopted as in the resolution.
Okay, we've clarified that on the record. If there are any questions from staff, please say so. Otherwise, we're ready to proceed with the vote. Madam City Clerk. Oh, Lorena.
I did want to clarify for our city attorney, we don't have to bring this back. We don't have to continue the public hearing.
I think we've held the public hearing tonight. We heard the public testimony.
Okay.
It would just be the one piece that they need to finalize. So we'll bring back a revised resolution at the next meeting to add the one piece in.
Great. Just clarify. Thank you.
All right, we seem to all be on the same page. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you. Councilmember D'Amico.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shine.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yes.
Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our second public hearing. Item 3B, zone text amendment to modify driveway width requirements for residential projects and residential zoning districts to be determined based on the number of parking spaces citywide in the city of West Hollywood. Madam City Clerk, how is this item noticed?
As required by law.
I'll now open the public hearing and turn it to our staff for a presentation.
Good evening, council members and members of the community at home. Thank you so much. My name is Rachel Diamond. I'm a senior planner in the Long Range Planning Division of the Planning and Development Services Department with the city. And tonight before you, we have a zone text amendment regarding driveway width for residential properties within the city. The current standard in the city of West Hollywood is that driveway pavement is limited to a maximum width of 24 feet or 40% of the parcel width, whichever is less, and that the minimum driveway width is 10 feet. This is a very, very wide range. And obviously we have different intensities of residential properties and different sizes of residential properties within the city. And this was too vague for the city. So without the ability to hone in on what width is appropriate for each building, it was left to a lot of interpretation. In addition to that need for clarity, there was also a goal of preserving curb space for both parking as well as limiting curb cuts in order to preserve our street trees in our city and ensure that we have shade and canopy throughout the city. And so as a result, the Director of Planning and Development Services, John Kehoe, issued a zoning interpretation that established new requirements for the driveway width that narrowed the widths based on the number of parking spaces that were being accessed by that curb cut. And so the recommended standard aligns the zoning ordinance with that interpretation, as is required by the zoning ordinance today. So here's what the proposed regulations state. So for any property that has up to 12 parking spaces, the required driveway width would just be a standard 10-foot wide curb cut. And this doesn't eliminate the ability for the driveway to get wider as it goes onto the property, but we're really talking about the width of the curb cut at the property line effectively and into the right of way. And so this allows for that standard size for just those smaller projects that have, again, up to 12 parking spaces. When you go from 13 to 25 parking spaces, the minimum driveway width would be 10 feet for a single car width driveway, and the maximum would be set at 18 feet for a 2-car width driveway. Up to 20 feet wide would be allowed when the design incorporates a median or some other element with a call box or the ability or design features that allow people to have that wider driveway, such as incorporating mirrors at the top and bottom of the ramps as well, and has operational protocol governing entry and exit priorities. And then for 26 parking spaces or greater, you'd have an 18-foot driveway width. And again, you could do up to 20 feet if you have specific design considerations as listed on the PowerPoint, similar to in the 13 to 25 space category. In addition, there would be an exception. So while there are specific requirements for each of those driveway widths based on the number of parking spaces that are being accessed, any of those residential buildings could apply to have a driveway width up to 24 feet, where the applicant demonstrates there's a lack of design alternatives, special conditions, or some unique intensity of vehicular traffic in a residential use. And this gives people the ability to still maintain or still apply for driveways up to that existing 24-foot maximum, but again, only allows that under certain circumstances. This went to the Planning Commission, where they recommended approval with some changes that included specifying a maximum of 24 feet in width for this exception rather than having it open-ended. So we brought the ordinance with that change included to the City Council. And with that, I'm available for any questions. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions from council?
I'm happy to move the item and close the public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Can't see while the screen is shared. So sorry. Thank you. No further questions. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilmember D'Amico.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shine.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yes.
Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we'll move to our next 2 items of unfinished business. I understand we're going to discuss them together. Item 4A, COVID-19 Small Business Grant Report. Item 4B, approval of 2022 Arts Grant Program. Sounds like we don't need a report necessarily on these items, but there was this, I'll turn it to Councilmember D'Amico first for his idea, and then we can move on.
Thank you. I did ask to pull these 2 items from the consent calendar last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, mostly because it occurs to me that part of my hope when we did this small business grant report was that some of the smaller micro businesses, especially those in the entertainment district, would be recipients of these grants. And as it turned out, we had a requirement that a business needed to have a brick and mortar storefront. And so there was sort of no way for somebody who was a musician or somebody who was a drag queen or somebody who was a DJ to have access to a small business grant. And so it just occurred to me that with these 2 things happening simultaneously, our 2022 Arts Grant Program and our small business grant report, moving dollars to the out zone, that I had a conversation with Rebecca Emmon and Lisa Belsanti regarding if, for example, $30,000 or $35,000 of this $235,000 went to the arts grants, could they sort of target this to performers and people who are from our entertainment districts along Sunset or Santa Monica Boulevard, and then perhaps even use some of those grants to bring entertainment to our out zone area along Robertson. So the short version of this is, I understand there's $235,000 remaining. There was a note in the 4A that $200,000 might be spent on the outzone program, and I was asking that the remainder, $35,000 perhaps, go to the arts grant program, and we ask our Arts and Cultural Affairs Commission and our arts administrators to target those monies to performers who work in our city and our entertainment district. That's why I pulled those items to a meeting ago. Thank you, Mayor.
Paul, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to complicate it a little bit, but to say if the council wishes to add money to the arts programs, we can do it. We just can't necessarily take it from these funds, because these funds were kind of designated as emergency funds, and we're going to be pursuing reimbursement from FEMA for these. But if we're returning it back to the general fund, then we would just be doing another drawdown from a different reserve to augment the arts fund. So it's a nuanced discussion that Lorena and finance understand more than I do. But basically, we're not taking the leftover money from here. We're just getting another $35,000 to augment the arts program, and that's definitely doable.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering if this would be more appropriate discussion at I believe it's our next meeting will be the budget discussion, or the meeting after that.
The budget will be provided to the council at the first meeting in June as a receive and file, and the deliberations will be at the second meeting in June. That's one way to do it. If the council wishes to fast track the program, it's probably going to take time. I would suggest that if we are going to discuss the funding allocation at that time, that you still direct us now to at least do the outreach and the application process, so that once the monies are available, then we can start spending them, especially as we launch our summer programs. But if the council allocates the money tonight too, again, it's only $35,000. That's doable as well.
Well, I'm just wondering if we can look at it and see if there's a way that we can do it using it as emergency funds that could possibly be reimbursed by instead of as grants, as grants, but in the same way that we just did the small business grants, just redefining the target. Because if we can get reimbursed for it, that would be, I would assume that would be the way to go. The other thing is, I think we do have to have a broader conversation about the out zones, because I think at some point, we have to have this, decision about if we're going to, move forward with a more permanent out zone setup, which needs to be a much nicer looking setup than what we have. As I understand it, we're only looking at another 6 months of the out zones that we have right now, the temporary ones. So I just feel like, there's a lot of conversations to be had before we start allocating this money. And especially since we have the budget conversation coming up, that might be the right time to discuss it.
Any further discussion? Any other comments? Councilmember Erickson.
wanted to say that I appreciate that point as well, but I think that there are artists and the ways in which we could increase these grants to a lot of these individuals now that are seeing the time come alive. They might be able to apply for one of these funds quickly now to help get some start going, to get going and to start doing some of the creative things that our city is really good at. I'm comfortable with giving that money in that direction to the arts programs, and then however finance and Paul and Lorena, who's a whiz, can figure it out. In doing that, I just know that there are ways in which we want to reach out to those small business owners that didn't have that brick and mortar, that I think we could be more accessible and help out, which is why I do support what Councilmember D'Amico was saying.
Okay, so Councilmember Shine.
Yes, thank you. If it sounds like what I'm hearing is if we're going to put 35,000, that would be part of 4B, and that's doable just separately from these emergency funds, right, Paul? That was basically.
That's the simplest and cleanest way to do it.
Okay, well, I am in favor of that. I think this is wonderful, and happy to support our artists. With the small business grants, it sounds like we're Mayor Pro Tem Meister wanting to wait until we have that discussion. I personally would like to know more information of how our businesses are doing. It looks like we're opening back up. Businesses are doing better now. The reason we did this small business item, which this was just one part of it, was to help our most vulnerable businesses. And we knew going into it, it may just be a few, and it ended up being 3 under the criteria. And perhaps we're able to save them. I'm also interested, these are emergency funds, having a discussion about perhaps designating the rest of the money perhaps to another round of rent assistance to our renters as well. So these perhaps are discussions to have at our budget meeting, so we can do that, because I know a lot of renters are still suffering and still having back rent.
Is there any further discussion? Councilmember D'Amico.
So thank you, Councilmember Shine. I think that it's important that we not lose sight of that. You know, I mean, how many balls are we all juggling, right? A dozen at least. So I think we need to have the and maybe Paul can jump in after I mangle what I'm about to say and clarify what I'm trying to say. But I have the sense that there is a plan about how to continue to finish, if there's such a thing, you know, like move towards the end of, but continue doing rental subsidies. And so but I don't think we're done with those yet. And I think we have to hear what the next budget provides. And we need an update on how much of the money that we've allocated has been spent. I don't believe it's near zero, but I think it's been accessed quite a bit of it. And then I think the out zones have been such a breath of fresh air, both in terms of, in my mind, our sort of urban environment. You know, it's like this explosion of activity that feels safe. And, you know, from my view, I'm not a county public health official, but looks safe, you know. And I think many people, business owners, residents, non-residents, TV crews, you know, TV crew camera holders, they want us to continue having these out zones. So I think Councilmember Meister makes a very good point about how do we continue this experience and then take it to the sort of West Hollywood level we want to be. But I think the next step is to continue allowing Paulo and Tara and others to continue developing these out zones, figure out where they belong, where they work, and what happens. And it seems like that's what this $200,000 is that they asked for from this particular item, which we did agree would go to help support small businesses, just in a slightly different way. So in my mind, I think but I only have a 20% of the council's mind, but in my mind, I think we should continue with doing what 4A recommended with $200,000, and then try and supplement our public outdoor environment with entertainment from our entertainment officials, you know, people who made entertainment here in this city. I have to say, it's no surprise that I like go-go dancers. I was so surprised to see an actual human being go-go dancing at the Abbey on Saturday. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was even legal. And I hope I didn't get anyone in trouble, because maybe it's not. But I think they were outdoor and it was happening. And, you know, it's like, there we go. There's some entertainment. It's happening. So that was further proof to me that that kind of intervention, I think, is needed and important and can help sort of continue us on our path to recovery. So I'm willing to move both of these two items with the recommendations we've been discussing. I don't know if there's a second or more conversation.
I will second it.
Okay.
I think we have to move them separately as they're written. So, so I'll take that first as a motion on item 4A and a second on 4A. And Mayor Pro Tem Meister, do you have further comments on 4A?
Well, yes, I just have a question, and that is, are we allocating some of that money for rental assistance or not? I'm fine whatever we do here. I just want to be clear on what I'm voting on.
So I think what I heard tonight is that the funds that were set aside for this program are funds that in a way didn't exist. They came from our general fund and they will be replenished through federal funds through an emergency fund. So right, so we'll apply for that. And I think the rental assistance, the arts, any additional assistance we provide the arts will come out of a bigger budget discussion. But what's before us tonight, it directs us on how our staff has worked to reprogram those funds that were prioritized for the business use.
And if I could chime in, and I know we don't want the meetings to go too long. I heard something a little different. I think in regards to the emergency funds, the emergency funds are there. We are getting some from the stimulus packages, some payback for these expenditures. I guess the question then for tonight, from the motion from Erickson, Councilmember Erickson and Councilmember D'Amico on the grants, were you allocating new money tonight from general fund reserves to the art program, the 35,000, or are we deferring that to the budget conversation?
Well, it would be my preference that we allocated the dollars this evening, and that we started that effort so that over the summer there would be entertainment and people in place to provide some of that activity immediately. If we wait until July or August, then it will be a while longer before that happens. So I was suggesting that we allocate $200,000 of the remaining small business grant money to the out zones and return $35,000 to the general fund. And then when the mayor allows me to make a motion about 4B, then I would say take $35,000 from the general fund and put it to the arts grant program. But I think it's also important, Paul, that you tell us, if you know, an update on how much is remaining in the rental subsidy, because I think it's an important discussion. And that if we've run out of money and we don't know it, then we should know it. But I have a sense we haven't, because usually it's appeared on our agenda in advance.
That's kind of a rolling number. As long as the emergency order stays in at the state level, the reimbursements at the 25%. We do have sufficient monies to go through the next couple of months. And you're right, these are items that we would do as supplemental appropriations with the council. So if we do need additional dollars, we'll bring those back. So as of now, there are sufficient funds, but the pandemic may end in September, or the emergency order, but the fiscal challenges to our community are going to continue well beyond that, and these conversations are not stopping anytime soon.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Thank you. I guess I just also want to ask, assuming that we're saying that 200,000 are going to stay with the businesses, whether we do doing the out zones, can we also find out if there are any businesses that applied for a grant that was close but no cigar, let's find out why they weren't able to get the grant, whether it was that they had 3 too many employees, or they, got $1,000 in EIDL funds, because I still feel like there are a couple of businesses out there that probably need our help, and I'm fine with the outzone, but I think we should also still allow for this grant process to be available to some of our smaller businesses that may have just missed the mark, ever so slightly. So maybe we can review the applications, or you can let us know. I don't know if it's confidential information, or it's something that can be shared with us in terms of how, what businesses applied and didn't make it, why they didn't make it. You don't have to give us the business names, but maybe tell us why they weren't able to get the grant, so we can take a look at that.
And maybe Janet, Tara, or Paulo want to chime in. My understanding is that one of the major disqualifiers is that they had received federal funding, but maybe they can chime in.
That's correct, Paul. A majority of those that applied had already received funding either on the federal, state, or county level.
Well, maybe then staff can take a look at that and see how much money they received, and if it's, I don't know, if it was under, $5,000 or something like that, then let's give them
the difference. Yeah, we could look at that and come back with some thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so that pertains to item 4A. I believe we have an motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on 4A? Okay,
But I'm going to repeat the motion so that we're super clear. The motion is to accept the staff recommendation at $200,000 to be moved from the small business grant program to the outzone program, and to go take a second look at the applications that we received, and if there is a difference between what they received in federal or state or county funds and $5,000, come back with a report about how many of those there are and what that would cost to supplement that.
Got it.
And I think I need a second from the person who seconded this motion to agree to that. Okay.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? City Clerk?
Councilmember D'Amico.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shine.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yes.
Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
And with regard to item 4B, I understand we want to authorize additional funding tonight. So who would like to make that motion?
Since I can't stop talking, violating my own rules I set earlier today, I would like to make a motion that we move $35,000 into the 2022 Arts Grants Program for one-time grants to artists from our entertainment districts to supplement and encourage a summer full of arts and arts programming.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember D'Amico.
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shine. Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yes.
Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 4C was moved to consent. We now have Commission and Advisory Board appointments and reappointments. I'm happy to go first. Tonight, to be clear about my public safety appointment, my current commissioner has informed me that she'll have to discontinue her service in July. She's pursuing higher education, and very excited for her. So I'm not going to make any appointments tonight to allow her to continue to serve until then, and then we'll make an appointment at that time. It's my understanding she's allowed to continue to serve in that role. So that's what I'm going to do for public safety for now. And for our Rent Stabilization Commission, I'm going to appoint Esteban Jose Montemayor.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Meister, are you prepared to make your direct appointment to the Lesbian and Gay Advisory Board?
Yes, I'm going to appoint Eric Hensley, also known as Miss Tiger, to LGAT.
Thank you. And Councilmember D'Amico, are you prepared to appoint your Public Safety Commissioner this evening?
Not yet. I haven't been able to get in touch with Marcy Norton, but I will put that on my list of things to do in the next 2 weeks, my ever-growing list of things to do in the next 2 weeks.
Great. So did we want to continue to defer the at-large appointments to the Public Safety Commission until both the mayor and Councilmember D'Amico have appointed their commissioners?
I'm comfortable proceeding with at-larges. But
And I am too, if everyone can excuse my not having made my choice.
okay.
I would like to go ahead and may I open nominations, Mayor. I'm sorry. Okay. I would like to go ahead and nominate Carrie Balboni and Robert Oliver.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
I was also going to nominate Carrie Balbone and also Adam Crawley.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, Madam City Clerk.
Hey, Councilmember D'Amico.
Adam Crowley and Carrie Balbone.
Councilmember Erickson.
Robert Oliver and Carrie Balbone. Sorry for mispronouncing your name, Carrie.
Councilmember Shine.
Carrie Balbone and Robert Oliver.
Okay. Carrie Balbone currently has 3 votes. So Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Carrie Balbone and Adam Crawley.
Mayor Horvath.
Carrie Balboni and Robert Oliver.
Okay, so our new at-large appointees to the Public Safety Commission are Carrie Balboni and Robert Oliver. Okay, are we ready to do Rent Stabilization Commission?
I think it's just our Disabilities Advisory.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
And is everyone prepared for that board? Okay. Councilmember Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to go ahead and nominate Yola Doré, Danny Wang, Patrick Ryanblood, and Rick Watts.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
I'll second those.
Okay. I was under the impression after speaking with Danny that he was not pursuing reappointment, that he had recommended Franklin Romero, and that's why Franklin applied. So I'm not sure if that message was relayed, but he told me he did not want to be reappointed. So.
Okay, so do we want to put Franklin on the list?
I'm also happy to nominate Franklin.
Is it possible? I guess I could try. We could text him and ask him if we understand what's up. Oh, all right.
Asking, can we, let's table this and go to, I think the only item we have left is item 5B. So I'll try to reach him in that time. And if I'm able to reach him, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, and I can try emailing him too in the interim.
But what we need to take a vote regardless. So we have at least 3. It sounds like that we might want to appoint tonight. So I just want to give the opportunity to provide that clarification so we don't have to do appointments on one more agenda. So let me see if I can do that, and we'll move on to item 5B.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there a presentation or report, or should we get into discussion? I know we have public commenters to speak on this item. Let's do that first. We'll go to our speakers.
Thank you. Our first speaker for item 5B is Rick Chavez Zuber from Equality California. Rick, if you could press *6 to unmute yourself, and you will have 2 minutes to speak on this item. Okay, I will move to our next speaker, Jackie Steele. Jackie, please press *6, and you will have 2 minutes to speak on this item.
Thank you very much. I'm calling in support of item 5B, advising staff to look at the directive for gender neutral bathrooms. I think an earlier caller actually stated it really well about antiquated views on, women as property and really this kind of outdated societal concept and construct. This also goes a long way toward inclusivity for our trans and gender nonconforming community who are so often at risk in these situations and these kind of, highly gendered situations. So data does not support that gender neutral bathrooms create any further danger for women identified persons or cis women. If we want to talk about safety for women and sexual assault, then we should do that and we should address that, but not conflate it with this issue. This issue is often used to gaslight transphobia and hateful attacks against our GNC and GNI community. So I just wanted to call in to say I support it, and I'm really thrilled that we are looking at continuing to be a progressive leader, on all of these things. I think it's a tremendous work that the city does. I love that we're looking at it, we're talking about it, and hopefully this is just a small, easily actioned item to keep moving us in that direction. So thank you, council members and mayor, and have a great night. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. Our next speaker is London Taylor. London, please press *6, and you will have 2 minutes to speak on this item. Go ahead, London.
Can folks hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, now we
Hello?
can hear you. Go
Okay,
ahead.
perfect. Sorry about that. My name is London Taylor, political vice president of the Stonewall Young Democrats. We are in strong support of item 5B. We believe it will be a historic move for the city, and I'm excited to be standing with all of our LGBTQ folks. Thank you.
Thank you, London. Our next speaker is Jordan David. Jordan, please press *6, and you will have 2 minutes to speak on this item. Jordan. Okay, I'm going to go to our next speaker, Adam Kroll. Adam, please press *6. Oh, actually, Adam is not in the meeting. Let me see if Rick has come into the meeting yet. Rick is just coming in, so give him 1 second. Rick, I see that you just came into the meeting. Can you please press *6, and you will have 2 minutes to speak on this item. Go ahead, Rick.
Hi, this is Rick Saber. Is it time for me now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, great. Well, good evening. My name is Rick Chavez Saber, and I am Executive Director of Equality California, the nation's largest statewide LGBTQ civil rights organization. And I'm here today wholeheartedly in support of the multi-stall gender-neutral bathroom facilities motion introduced by Council members Erickson and Shine, agenda item 5B on today's agenda, and respectfully urge the City Council to adopt the motion this evening. For more than 20 years, Equality California has led the Golden State's fight for LGBTQ equality. In 2016, Equality California proudly sponsored the Equal Restroom Access Act, AB 1732, which required all single occupancy restrooms in California businesses, government buildings, and public spaces to be identified as all gender or gender neutral, making it the nation's most progressive restroom access law. The city of West Hollywood has an opportunity to continue its national leadership as a place that welcomes, embraces, and empowers all LGBTQ plus residents and visitors by expanding on AB 1732 and adopting Councilmember Erickson and Shine's motion. Doing so will improve public safety, promote greater accommodations to facilities, to families and people with disabilities, will decrease wait times for restrooms and create greater efficiency by maximizing the space available. This is an opportunity to send a powerful message of support for and solidarity with transgender people in West Hollywood and beyond at a time when lawmakers across the country attempt to restrict and roll back their rights. We respectfully urge the council to vote yes on the motion, and we thank Council Members Erickson and Shine for their leadership on this issue. Thank you very much for allowing me to address the council.
Thank you very much, Rick. Adam is back in the meeting. So Adam Kroll, please press *6 and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, everyone. This is Adam Kroll, West Hollywood resident, just calling in support of this item 5B. I've actually lived in an institutional environment in the past that had multi-stall gender-neutral bathrooms. And I know it's something that kind of trips up people who aren't familiar with this concept or haven't been in one before. But quite frankly, going back out into the world where genders are separated in different bathrooms is actually much more odd once you get used to it. So I really hope we do pass this. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam. So Jordan David apparently had comments as well after the music. So Jordan, please press *6 to unmute yourself and provide your comments.
Thanks, Melissa.
You're welcome.
I also just wanted to just say that gender nonconforming people are people. They need to use the bathroom just like everyone else. And fuck anybody who's against this.
That was our final speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so is there discussion on our item tonight? Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yeah, more questions than discussion. For me, I'm generally supportive, but I just wondered what happens with pool facilities or gymnasiums where you have showers or any bathroom that has a shower. So I just wanted to make sure that that's considered when the ordinance is studied or written. And then the only other thing that I was going to ask about is our public spaces, our park restrooms, which we just spent a lot of money on. Would the city be exempt from this, or is this? I mean, the outdoor, especially the outdoor restrooms in the parks. I just want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind.
Mayor, can I address the?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Meister. This item is solely for multi-stall bathrooms, not for facilities where there are showers. So just to answer that question for you. As far as our facilities that we just spent money on, it's my understanding that in the West Hollywood Park, the standalone bathrooms do have already the, which I was told, the sinks on the outside. So if we were going to do multi-stall bathrooms, it really shouldn't be that big of a change order to do that for those. This is something that for me has been really important for us to expand to have true inclusivity for our community members and for all others who are positively affected. But something that for me brought it top of mind was when I had a tour of the rec building with Councilmember D'Amico, and we were touring the incredible auditorium and building, and they showed us the multi-stall bathrooms. And then I asked Steve Campbell, where's the single stall bathrooms? And I was told, oh, they're downstairs at the El Tovar, down the elevator area, and there's some that staff have. So to me, that was just a complete injustice, given that we're building such an incredible building, and we have our transgender community that is part of so many sports that are played. And this really precipitated bringing this forward. So since we're in development for that building, I don't think it would be exempt, and I would like us to, when the time is right, modify those as appropriate, and it's for new developments as far as public accommodations in the cities go. So think future remodels as far as our own city properties and new, because we didn't want to create too much of a burden on any existing facilities that are complete. I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions, Councilmember D'Amico?
So I'm going to vote for this, and I think it's a super timely and incredibly thoughtful staff report. But I think there's a couple of things that are sort of glossed over in the technicality, which I think we should, and I had a discussion with our lobbyist about this. I think we need to lobby the state to change the California building code, because we're actually asking, if we pass this, and as I said, I support it, we're asking architects and planning engineers to design something that is not to the California building code, with the assumption that our planning department would approve it if it became an ordinance. But it begins to set in motion a series of complications regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act, regarding the whether you have a restroom for families, for a mom who has a son or a dad who has a daughter and wants to go into a single-use restroom and has a changing area, and do you need a family restroom in a nightclub? And it's like a whole host of really great questions that nerds like me spend a whole morning scratching my head about. And in fact, I'm working on a theater for the UCLA grant from the Nimoy Foundation, and we spent days and days and hours, carefully crafting a series of gender inclusive restrooms that sort of cover all those questions. But at the end of the day, we know that for whatever reason, the California Building Code assigns toilets to gender. It's like, why they do that, I don't know. They don't assign gender to air conditioning ducts. They don't assign gender to door handles. They don't assign gender to, window sashes, but toilets have gender assigned to them. And looking at the building code now, A1 assembly, 1 to 100 males, you need one toilet that has an M next to it. 1 to 25 females, you need one toilet that has an F or a W next to it. So, and then, as I said, that gets complicated with the American with Disabilities Act, because you need to sign, things need to be signed properly, which there's no reason we can't sign them properly. But I think we're sort of also inventing a language that doesn't really exist. All very good. I support it all completely. I think this city is a place that can break that ground and make it happen. But I think a good thrust of it needs to be that we have to ask our lobbyist in Sacramento to begin an actual effort with perhaps Equality California, with perhaps the State Hospital Association, with perhaps the organization that builds malls and the organization that builds stadiums, to change our building code. Once our building code is changed and it says, this is how many facilities you need for this many people, and they don't assign gender to toilets, then I think we would be there. So I'm interested in moving this forward. I'm interested in, when we get this back, a couple of scenarios about our own facilities, what we might do, as Councilmember Shine said, with the facility we're finishing, what we might do with Plummer Park as we embark upon that, to sort of have a best case scenario, city of Los Angeles, city of Beverly Hills, city of Culver City, here's what you can do, we're doing it, join us in this sort of marvelous effort of changing how these things go down. So that's what I would ask, and I hope that we can get this back relatively quickly so that it's part of our ordinances before we start working on our next park project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council Member D'Amico. Those are all really good points, and Council Member Erickson and I had thorough discussions with staff about all of these. And you're right, it should have been stronger in the staff report. What we were told after discussing this with staff is that we can indeed do this even before California law is changed. And the International Plumbing Code has changed. Unfortunately, we don't follow that. So hopefully with us and the International Plumbing Code will be a strong lobby effort for the state of California. I just want to make sure that we are moving this forward and not waiting for the state, but rather doing this now because we can, but as absolutely a strong direction to our lobbyists to pursue this lobbying effort with the state and all other entities that are important in moving this forward.
Councilmember D'Amico?
Thank you. I would just say that, and maybe I didn't clearly enough identify, but plumbing engineers are engineers. They have a license. They're licensed by the state. They have to follow the laws of the state, and we are potentially asking people with a license and putting their professional practice at risk by doing this. So we may have to indemnify them against lawsuits that might arise from this direction, should it be a direction the city gives to someone to design something that is not in keeping with the California building code. I'm not trying to overcomplicate this, but this is why I'm bringing it up now, because I just think we want to be really clear. Like, I think we need to do this. This is a super important thing, but we also need to know that if, we're building a $30 million park, we're going to hire an actual professional, and that professional is going to say, my hands are tied a little bit. I understand what you're asking for, but my license tells me I need to follow the law. And you're telling me that there, in this conflict, that the city can rule in this way. So I'm just bringing that up so that if we need to provide some language around that, we can certainly already have that in place.
Ben, did you want to comment?
I did, if I could. Councilman D'Amico made some great points. Any amendments we make to our building codes, they need to be filed with the California Building Standards Commission. Once they get filed with the commission, it becomes the law of West Hollywood. So that will alleviate the issue that Councilmember D'Amico just brought up. I also want to just clarify something. Actually, there's discussion about the lobbyists pushing for amending of our building code. I just learned today that the California Triennial Code adoption process started in September. Right now, different committees and members of the public are actually proposing changes to the various codes. And one of the changes to the California Plumbing Code is to include those provisions in the International Plumbing Code that allow for multi-stall gender-neutral bathrooms. So that's coming, and I'm hoping that that proposal gets adopted by the state of California. The professionals that I've spoken with don't see a problem with that, because California has always been pretty progressive with equal access. So I'm confident that we'll be seeing that in the next California Plumbing Code edition.
Okay, with that clarification, are we prepared to make a motion tonight?
Yes.
Seppi and John, make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to move this item forward.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
Okay, Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember D'Amico,
Yes.
Councilmember Erickson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shine,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Meister, Mayor Horvath.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Now, going back to item 4D, I did hear back from Danny. He said he changed his mind. He is interested in being reappointed. Sorry for that snafu. I'm happy to also nominate Franklin so he can be considered, and Madam City Clerk will turn it to you for a vote.
Great, thank you. So just to reiterate, so we all know, our nominees are Yola Dore, Danny Hang, Patrick Blood, Rick Watts, and Franklin. I believe Franklin's last name is Romero. Yes. So Councilmember D'Amico.
Yes, I will vote for Yola Dore and Danny Hang and Patrick Blood and Franklin Romero.
Thank you. Councilmember Erickson.
I will vote for Danny, Yola, Patrick, and Franklin.
Thank you. Councilmember Shine.
I'd like to vote for Yola, Danny, Patrick, and Rick.
Okay, so currently Yola, Danny, and Patrick have 3 votes. Mayor Pro Tem Meister.
Yola, Danny, Patrick, and Rick.
Mayor Horvath.
I think the only one who's left to appoint, there's only one position left, right?
Yes. So it's Rick or Franklin.
Okay, I'll appoint Rick Watts.
Okay, so it's Yola, Danny, Patrick, and Rick are our 4 at-larges. Thank you.
Okay, are there any additional public comments tonight?
We do have 2 members of the public who would like to speak during the final public comment period. And the first one is Ramin. Ramin, please press *6 and you will have 2 minutes to speak under the final public comment period.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, members of the committee, the council. My name is Ramin. I'm the owner of Purge Development. We are currently, I think, the largest co-living landowner developer in West Hollywood of such units. We've built over 450 market units before. It's not a new concept for us. And I apologize for not having something more written out for you guys. We were kind of surprised and frankly a little disappointed that after a year of reaching out to the city, we only found out about this important meeting 3 hours ago through my architect. And we really look forward to speaking with you about co-living. We'd love to explain to you the benefits of co-living for West Hollywood. Co-living is really affordable housing with dignity and a community, and that's what it really is. And so we look forward to meeting every one of you in person to speak with you. And I wish we had an opportunity earlier to meet with you and discuss this with you. In fact, we had Common Living, who is one of our partners who will be managing these properties for us. And I spoke with the owner maybe 2 hours ago, and he said, I wish we could have been there and spoken with them and educated them, because currently there are 18,000 units in design and operation. There's actually 18,000 units in design across the country, an additional 12,000 in operation. So co-living is not a new model, is not unknown, and it is the single best model for affordable housing, we believe, for West Hollywood. And we just look forward to presenting this to you guys, explaining it. There are some challenges. It's different model than traditional living. It's not for everybody. Me and my 2 kids probably wouldn't live in the co-living, but plenty of people would. And just so you understand the need for co-living, as we speak, Common Living has 8,000 applicants on a waiting list. These are pre-qualified applicants making over $70,000. We look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ramin. Our next and final speaker is Stephanie Harker. Stephanie, please press *6 and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Stephanie Harker, City of West Hollywood. At your last meeting, I participated in an appeal of the commercial congregate care facility on Palm Avenue. I feel compelled to state my dismay in regard to the disrespect and my anger directed at the hundreds of citizens who felt strongly that a large commercial facility would have a detrimental impact on their street, in their neighborhood, and on the historic resources. While Mr. Levin and the developers have the luxury of pricey legal advice and familiarity with the staff, hundreds of citizens, some of whom are experts, fought hard for months at the grassroots level. Instead of simply disagreeing with the points of the appeal, the architect repeatedly chose to chastise the citizens about a weak presentation and belittle their oft-time valid opinions. Sadly, one of you elected officials jumped on the bandwagon criticizing the appeal as sloppy and asking who wrote this. By saying you understand does not cloak the disrespect in comments like that. The appeal process must change. It is almost impossible in 10 days for citizens to gather 50 signatures to avoid the tens of thousands of dollars in filing fees. The project is fraught with serious problems that will absolutely adversely impact the neighbors' lives. And I believe the onus lies with the Planning Commission, who glossed over the many serious issues, many of which were never discussed or simply ignored. I am reminded of a point in my ethics training. Just because it's legal doesn't make it ethical. I recall one of you mentioned that if you want to do business with the city, you shouldn't be on a commission, and I hope that can be followed through. Conflict of interest is not solely based on monetary gain. It is also about bias. And I hope you will think about this going forward. And congratulations for bringing in your meeting under 5 hours tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Mayor, that was our final speaker for this evening.
Any additional comments from council? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.